Hey, I was trying to play your intro and it was not happening. We have gremlins for 2 days now, I think.
Look,
So.
man, I feel you because obviously, I've been having issues trying to send you anything.
You just got power back too, so yes.
Right. So, again, Happy New Year. Happy New
Year,
everyone.
Everybody, yeah.
Happy New Year. Here's another episode of Echoes of the Shadows. I'm your host, Chris O'Toole, and I have the lovely Gwen Johns with me.
Yeah.
As a co-host
Thank
and
you.
producer. You know what? I appreciate you being, with me, online, because my thing is that I was in the trade for so many years, as working as a stagehand, and working in film and basically majority entertainment. And entertainment here is a little bit different than entertainment in LA or over in Las Vegas or New York or Florida. Here we're more business oriented, like with gas and oil. So we handle their entertainment, setting up for big conventions, their shows, big sales meetings, all this stuff, but we've always had scripts. We always okay, this is the time code. This is where we stop. Can't go any further. And it's going to be the next person and all that. So I'm trying to get back into that swing. I still have not been there 100%. Now, look, I'll be on the, I'll have Chat GPT, right? And I'll go and command out, writing the script for us. And so the majority of the time, man, it's good. It works for me. But, since it's just you and I, and we're going to talk about Baytown, Texas.
Yes,
where I live.
And I've got it. When you get a second, I'm going to go ahead and pull it up. I've got the shorter version if you want to go ahead and play it so they'll kind of get an idea. Is that
Absolutely.
Good?
Yeah, go ahead and play.
Let's do that.
Discover Dirty Bay Digital, where creativity meets cutting-edge technology in digital marketing. We specialize in crafting unique AI art and video solutions tailored to your brand's specific niche. Our innovative approach ensures that your message stands out in a crowded digital landscape. With Dirty Bay Digital, every campaign is a masterpiece designed for maximum impact. Trust our expertise to elevate your brand's presence and engage your audience like never before. Visit Dirty Bay Digital today and transform your marketing strategy with the power of creativity.
Picture of the hanging, I just confirmed that it just feels so sick. I'm telling you, there was a hanging. You got, look, that's a whole person.
Yeah, that's a person.
There's two people right here. There's so much energy. He stirred it up by just going off on the... There's a person here, and there's a person there.
Yes, please do.
And then we got
something,
which I was talking about, a hanging. That sounded weird.
Yeah, it did.
I was like, what?
Yeah, me too. I was like, what was that?
It's like it's going in backwards mode.
Here's my name person.
Attending to you.
Attempting.
I choose him for you are two of my attendants.
My attendant.
Tonight.
That's awesome. Actually, I got the pleasure of watching the whole thing that will not download on here, and it's cool.
Yeah, I didn't realize the severity of it until I moved out and
Mhm.
I looked at like all the footage. So let me kind of go back to the beginning, how I got this house.
Yes.
So my mother passed away in the year of 2013. And then 3 weeks later, my mother-in-law passes away. And
Mm.
so, my wife and I wanted to, have a new start. We decided to go ahead and purchase a house, cash. We were just like, looking. And my intentions of purchasing this home was basically to go ahead and flip it, and like resell it. But I don't know, man, something gravitated me to this place. Now, I should have known better because I had a friend who lived, in that neighborhood. Okay. And
Mhm.
so, okay, remember the app Spud Pickles? It's like it's like an app, like a kind of like an ITC app in a way. It comes up with words and it has like a little
I think
a
I
little
do. Let me pull it
radar.
up. Yeah,
Yeah,
let
it's
me pull it
like
up.
Spud Pickles Classic. I know y'all
Oh, okay.
probably, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Like I just thought it was like a toy and shit. Like I'm like, let me just play with it, right? So we were
Yeah.
in the neighborhood, and the neighborhood's on an island, so there's only one way on and one way off, you
Mm.
know. And so it was really, really raining, really hard. We couldn't get, we couldn't get home basically, because
Ooh.
you couldn't see in front of you and all that, down the road. And so it said storm. So I'm thinking to myself, like debunking, like, oh, okay, well, it has a GPS on it. So it's, probably looking at coordinates, whatever, and it's just see that there's a storm, right?
Right.
Then we were watching Hall Pass, the film.
Mhm.
And so, and so, one of the characters had a Harvard shirt on, and it said university. So we're like, okay, that's coincidental. So, my friend's ex-boyfriend, I'm sorry, but he's just he's like really chauvinistic, very
Mm.
man, I can't even explain this dude. Being a narcissist is just not even a word for him. Like he surpasses that. And so her mom passed away several years ago, and so the remains of her mother is like in a closet, like down the hall. And so like I said, it has a radar on it. So every dot or every ring is like every 10 foot.
Yeah.
So there was a dot that was like right behind him, and it basically said ass. So we were like, okay, that is a confirmation. All right, this is not,
Sorry.
like this shit works. This is,
Yes.
it's not like, um, it's yeah. So I should have known from there, and I did know that it was an old plantation before I
Mhm.
moved there, and I love history, but I
I
mean,
do
there was
too.
just something that just gravitated me to this place. So we contacted, a realtor or whatever, and we had an opportunity to do a walkthrough.
Ooh.
Well, as we're walking through the house, I just noticed I felt presence of being watched, you know? And
Yes.
coming into this house, the house was a remanufactured double wide home that's already
Mhm.
been remodeled, you know what I'm saying? And so we were doing the
Yeah.
second remodeling on it because where it's located is on that island and they pump oil. So the earth constantly moves, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And so people who've built houses out there now, their foundations are cracking,
Ooh.
so yeah, so but it was just I don't know, man. It When I think about it, like how when you get sucked into something that was, I don't want to say tragic,
Yeah.
but
I
it
can understand what you mean.
really left an imprint on you. Like
Yes.
this really left an imprint on me, and I feel like to this very day there's something that's there that's attached to me that is followed me there. So we went to this house. There was a padlock on one of the doors, on one of the guest bedroom doors.
Yeah, that's a sign right there.
That was a
That's
sign.
That's the sign.
Yeah, like the seller, her and her husband were Pentecostal. He was at the stage of Parkinson's where he couldn't speak,
Mm.
and there's nothing wrong being Pentecostal. I mean, I have friends who are
Mm.
Pentecostal, and I grew up with them for years. Went to their church, attended church with them, and was in their house. And it was just like these people had crosses everywhere. I mean, everywhere in the house. And I just thought that was kind of odd. I mean, look, there's a difference between like home decor crosses, you know what I'm saying? And
Yes,
just
yes.
crosses in places that it's just, like it makes you think. And so she refused to take the padlock off the door. She wouldn't let us see it.
Mm.
Her and the realtor basically almost got into it, you know. And so, her excuse was she didn't want anybody to steal her arts and crafts supplies. And I'm like, look, man, I'm not gonna steal your glue gun and some yarn. Like I just wanna look because I'm gonna buy the house. So we just let it go, and we didn't do the walkthrough in that room. Well, after they left, I go in there, and like I said, we're by the water, and she didn't disclose that obviously they had a rat issue, like,
Yeah.
in the house, because it was like just rat droppings like in the corner. And I'm like, what?
Oh
And
no.
everything. But I don't know, man. I felt like when I walked in there, I just felt like I was being watched. I just felt really uneasy. So my wife took the kids and went to Florida because this was around spring break week when we moved in. And so I was by myself. It was like 11:30. I'm the only one who has the key, to the house. And I'm painting the wall in our bedroom. Well, we had these French open, these French doors,
Yeah.
and you can see the front door, from how I was angled. And the front door open and close, but I did not see it move. And you hear footsteps, like boots walking on like a hollow floor, like hardwood floor. But
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't in our house because we had carpet, at the time. And it was
That's
just
different.
hollow, and you can hear like chains jingling or keys jingling, and like it was like pulling something. And I followed the sound with my eyes, and it went into the hallway, and then it went into the front guest bedroom, not the one that has the padlock. That one was across, and all that, and then it just echoed into the distance. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
okay, I'm gonna keep on painting. So that's what I did. The next day, I had to work on some photography work, some color correcting for a client. And at the time, my office was in the dining room area. So I'm working, and you know how when like someone has like a vape and they're puffing on the vape, and you see the vape smoke and so
Yes.
forth. It just started to manifest like in the hallway, and that hallway was like really small. It was like really short. Start to manifest in the hallway, and then when it reached the threshold of the living room, it dissipated, and then the smoke basically came back
Oh
on the other
wow.
side of the room, and then it went through the wall to our bedroom.
Mm-hmm. And you're by yourself, right? Going.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So I ignored that too. What I couldn't ignore was I found one of my brothers that I haven't seen, my stepbrother, in a long time. So when I
Mhm.
found him, I see my mother without a head. I just see what she always wore when she would come home from work, because she would work and she would get like she would always wear like a white shirt and some khaki shorts.
Mhm.
And I saw my mom walking past my desk, like into the hallway, and like dissipated. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, maybe it's my mom because I have her in an urn,
Oh.
like in the house or whatever. But then strange other, like other stuff started to happen. I think one of the most weird thing is my wife met one of her long-term friends when they were kids, and
Hmm.
so they reunited, and her husband is a psychic medium. Now, at this time, I mean, I knew I had the gift and all that, but I just really wasn't accepting it,
Yeah.
and all that. And so we ran into each other. We exchanged information or whatever. I added him on Facebook. Look, guys, okay, I'm just like giving y'all heads up. This is TMI, but it's a part of the story, okay? So I was in the bathroom and I saw shadow, like footsteps underneath the door. Because most trailers, they have like 1-inch gaps, right? Remember I was
Yes.
telling you about this, right?
Yeah, especially the
Yeah.
older doors. Yeah.
Right. And so I saw footsteps, shadows walking. And then when I saw that, I get a message from Ronnie, the psychic medium. He's behind you. When that happened, I felt something jump on top of my shoulders, like a pressure and all that. For some odd reason, synchronicity, don't believe in coincidences. Why was he on the toilet too? He was on the toilet too, and he threw up in the litter box. So he's like, yeah. And he's like, I'm coming over, So I get out of the restroom. There's something on me. I am praying, in the name of Jesus, get off me. It wasn't budging. It was still on me. My wife comes in because she ran some errands, and I guess she already knew. I guess she already knew what was going on because she automatically got olive oil, and then she put the sign of the cross on my forehead, and it felt like I hit my knees. I didn't hit my knees, but it felt like, like I was released. Hey, Sean, how's it going?
Pam's here
Hi,
too. Hey,
guys.
Pam. There's others, but they're not chiming in yet.
Okay, no worries. Hi, everyone. Thank you for watching.
Yes.
Yeah, but that was weird. But then it started really kind of getting a little bit dark because he came over and he was showing me. He's like, "Where your house is, this is where the barn used to be." And this guy was not a good man. He was a pillar of the community.
Yeah.
And he like raped his slaves, and they bore him 6 children, and he drowned them and he buried them underneath your house. And then he was showing me like where the actual plantation home was, and it was like 200 feet away from my house. Because because the historians, they have a theory where the house used to be, but they don't really know. But I did find documentation, stating like the house was further down, basically where the area where I used to live.
Okay. Yeah.
And all that. Then things started like I said, things started getting pretty weird. Ronnie was taking pictures with his camera and so forth, and there was this thing that he captured. Okay, so it was like a laser. It was like a green laser, and then it was like a red laser, which to me those are spirits,
Yeah.
or some type of energy. Well, there was this picture that he took, and it looked like it was a green mass, like on the far upper right side. And so I thought, like he took a picture of the sky or whatever, and it was like from the plants, just, from the chemical plants, just light reflecting, from the clouds. And I couldn't figure it out for years until I was working on my documentary. And after we moved out, and I have a friend, and she's a psychic medium too, as well. And she's like really in tune. And she told me for the longest time, she only been to that house once, my house. And she said she always had dreams about children being hung in trees, in the back of the house, like, going down the road, down the island. And she's like, I keep on seeing them. She's like, and then there's a there's one named Sally, and she calls her the rotten apple, you know, and she said that, you know, that Sally is scared of the green man. Well, then that image
Ooh.
photo popped up in my head. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna look at this photo, and sure enough, if you look up on the top right corner, you see the upper of his chin, his mustache, and his nose.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when she was telling me this, like, you know, she was having these dreams about children being hung and all that, there was some of the footage I didn't see for like 3 years. Okay. So when
Yeah.
I was going through this footage, I was trying to understand what it was saying because I was at the cemetery right down the road.
Right.
And I was asking one of the plantation owners who's buried down there, you
Mhm.
know, like questions. And, you know, I asked, like, you know, what happened to your babies? And he said, you know, there was a kid said, all hung in the crib. At first, I didn't know what it was until she
Mm.
told me. And then I listened over again and like all hung in the crib. And then you hear neither that spirit, Henry Gillette, say it was just business. It was just business. Now, they were all Masons too that were like involved,
Mhm.
you know, when I actually like did research. Now, what I've gathered from the spirits, you know, doing the documentary that you saw
Yeah.
and all that, called Haunted Old Bell Prairie documentary, I let the spirits talk. You know what I'm saying? And like, and if you listen to it, you know, they do
Mhm.
more of the talking, and I put it in chronological order. So I didn't, like, you know, take things out and, you know what I'm saying, place
Yeah.
in different things. I allowed it to have like the storyline, you know? And so what I've gathered from it, like, and I don't know if you gathered it too, like when you were watching it, but it seemed like there were children that were on the land, you know, that were a
Yeah.
part of like the orphanage that was here and so forth. Now it's I think it's called DePelchin in Houston. But
Oh, okay.
yeah, but these kids were malnourished, they were being abused, you know, they were being molested, they were being raped, and I really do believe that, you know, there was human trafficking involved because I found, you know, I guess like a directory, you know,
Yeah.
paperwork of when, you know, these children were leaving, and it said like, you know, children left with, you know, Mr. So and so and everything. Now in the 1800s, we all know, you know, that things were different, you know,
Yes.
especially because it was extremely conservative. You know, it was looked down if you were a man, a single father, you know, and you weren't a widower, you know, if your wife left
Mhm.
you or whatever the case may be. But there were quite a few kids who were adopted by single male men, you know. And so, like I said, you know, that was kind of like, it was kind of looked down on, you know. Alexa, stop. Sorry. So, Alexa, stop. Sorry
You
about
know
that.
that's not Alexa, right? You know that's not you setting it off, right?
Well, I had a timer. I had a timer on, but I forgot what I put on. I guess it's like the food. But anyway, so, you know, I started to gather more information, you know, after like listening to some of the stuff because you can hear it was very clear. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Some of it or most of it, and it was very intelligent with, you know, what they were saying. Okay, so was any kids buried there or found? Well, there was actually children buried um, down the road from that location because that's where the orphanage used to be. So they had a, you know, they had a little cemetery. Now there's no stones on that cemetery, but there's
Mhm.
like a gazebo that is neither
Hmm.
on that, you know, on where the cemetery is because it's like on a little hill, you know, or
Mhm.
that's where, you know, the orphanage used to be. And there's a lot of
Right.
activity there too. I have like several footages of, you know, of
Yeah.
like intelligent energy responding back over there, like through the Haviland Nicola and all that.
Now
But it,
I have to get it right in my head. You don't still live in that same house. You're in a different house now, right?
yes, I'm in a different house, but it's still haunted as hell.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
It
Yes.
is.
There's a lot of things that go on here. But the energy's so much different than it was, over at Bay Oaks. I do have a friend who still lives there. She actually lives a few houses down from where I lived originally.
Mhm.
And she found me on TikTok because strange things were happening. And so she was trying to figure out, like, has anyone else like experienced things, like in this neighborhood? And she ended up finding me, and then we end up, connecting.
Right.
And we did a couple of, a few experiments, over there because it's highly active,
Oh yeah.
but it's like scarily active. And what I mean by that, it's not about things being thrown, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying, or moved. And I don't know, like, when I see things move, objects, it doesn't scare me as much, or not scare me, but startle me as much as receiving an intelligent response back through energy
Yeah.
when it's lower level.
I
You know
got
what
you.
I'm saying?
Now the guy, the plantation owner, I guess the one I can't remember his name now. Did he ever directly talk to you or interact with you?
Okay, well, that's a good question. And before
Mm.
I answer that, Pam asked, where did this happen? This
Oh,
happened in
yeah.
Baytown,
Sorry.
Texas. No. That's cool. It's cool. It happened in Baytown, Texas, and
Mhm.
we are off the coast, about maybe an hour away from Galveston. We're off the coast of Texas, the Gulf of Mexico, and so forth. We are a refinery community, and all that is basically gas and oil here. There's a lot of history here, all the way from the Ice Age, So I don't know if anyone knows about the pirate Jean Lafitte, but Jean Lafitte actually colonized over here, like all the way from Galveston,
Mm.
down here. Down here and all the way, I think, to Brownsville, maybe, and all that, and also too in New Orleans. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of history, and I get people saying "Viva Jean Lafitte," because
Oh
they were like
wow.
big Jean Lafitte. He was a pirate,
Yeah.
and in Galveston there is still remains of his house. So
Oh.
when he got in trouble in the early 1800s or whatever,
Mhm.
and he fled, he went and burned his house down so nobody could live in it or inhabit it. And so what remained was, the bottom structure, because it was lifted up, so he can
Yeah.
see, you know, in the ocean and see other people and everything like that. And then I want to say maybe, several years later, they built another house, like later in the 1800s, they built
Mhm.
another house on top of that structure. Now nothing's
Yeah.
there, but there, people used to go over there all the time and, do paranormal stuff. And people say they would see like ball of light, floating. They would hear dogs barking. Jean Lafitte had guard dogs and so forth like that when he was alive. And but
Mm.
now it's no trespassing. You can't really go over there
Aw.
anymore. But all that history, connects to Baytown, and
Yeah.
Baytown connects to Galveston's history, because they were the same people, you know what I'm saying, who were working
Yeah.
in both, basically building in both towns
Right.
and so forth. So, like I said, there's a lot of history, but that history has a dark side to it that a lot
Yeah.
of people don't know. Now, I'm not saying that what I experienced and what um, Katrina, spiritual medium that you saw on video and all that, she was probably the medium who got in the most detail. We've had 3 mediums come in the span of 7 years.
Mhm.
Um, we couldn't get our pastor to come to our house. I asked him, he didn't really respond. There was a pastor who lived across the street. I'm like, hey, can you bless our house? Can you bless our, bless,
Mhm.
where we our land? And he basically said, nope, nope. Jesus told me I can't go over there. Nope. And I'm
All
like,
right. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so it took us like 3 years to find someone to come over and bless our home and like bless our land. and one of them was a psychic medium, and she basically said the same thing like the first psychic medium. Like there's people buried underneath your house, like there's kids buried underneath your house on your property, and it took them like an hour to bless my home that was only 1,200 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath in the land. And by the end of it, they were both crying. They were sisters, and they were both crying. And they were like, out of the 22 years of us, doing cleansing work and all this place is the most evil place I've ever been to.
Wow.
And so they left like roses in certain places, like in the yard and in the house. So after they left, because we had renters who, that's another story too, who basically kind of, I think one kind of went a little crazy and all that. He didn't want to pay rent, because we used it as a rent house. I was trying to get him out. He pointed a gun at me. He said, "Get off my land." And I'm like, "What?" But I've heard that before too. Get out, get out, get off my land.
I was going to say, do you think
no, absolutely. I really do believe that. I believe there's a lot of evil that's there. I wouldn't be surprised if it's lower level demonic.
Yeah.
I'm the type of person, I don't think everything's demonic. I don't think everything is purely evil. But the life of these spirits that have manifested to, put their hands on me, I mean, I've been scratched. My poor daughter, she can't have any of her friends over, or her female cousins, because they would get 3 scratches on the back of their neck in the morning time. We got like, we put crosses in the house, but we didn't have enough crosses, so that sound that I told you of the guy walking, going into one of the front rooms and all that. Well, then things started happening in there, and that was my son's room. And he would tell me about this lady that would stand and watch him sleep, or sit in a rocking chair. He thought it was my mother, like for the longest time, until we realized that it wasn't her when we did, I guess like the last investigation at the house.
Oh yeah.
And everything. Yeah. And we actually put a recorder in that room, because he told me, he's like, when I go to sleep, he's like, I hear like my closet door opens, and then I hear something jump up on the top of my top bunk, and then they jump down right beside me on my bed. Which my son, when he was little, he had this big, you know what I'm saying, like this big imagination. So we did actually put, a recorder in there, and I caught some things, the door opening and shutting, his closet door. And then you hear this guy singing, hear footsteps, somebody going back into the closet, someone else coming out. I'm assuming maybe a kid. You hear them going up on the top of the bunk and jumping down, because right where the recorder was right where they jumped down at. So you can definitely hear it.
Oh man.
Especially with a Zoom.
Poor guy.
Yeah. So, but like when we noticed what it was, that's when things started really, really, really manifesting.
Let's see. Sean's asking, was any of the crosses moved or fall from locations they were put?
Okay, so not that I know of, because the ones that we put in our son's room, I actually used like permanent marker, and we went and put crosses. And actually my wife did that because it scared her,
I bet so. Yeah.
I mean, because we would be watching TV and, in the bedroom, and I'll be seeing like a shadow coming through the French doors, walking into the bathroom, and then just disappear.
Mm. Did she ever see any of that, or just she didn't?
The only thing that she saw was when we first moved in, and after she came back from Florida, she was laying on
Mhm.
the couch watching TV, and there used to be a tree. It's no longer there anymore, but there used to be a tree by the driveway, and she
Mhm.
happened to look up, and she saw a black woman holding a baby
Oh.
sitting in the tree, like on a branch, and
Mm.
then she just nodded her head, and it was gone.
Yeah.
And I do have like a picture of like a slave woman looking through a window, like she has a child next to her, on one of the other houses, like about I want to say like 500 feet away
Oh wow.
and everything. It was pretty gnarly. But like I said, it just started like when it noticed that we knew that it existed. It
Yeah.
just started to get worse from there. So that night when all this stuff happened, like when Ronnie came and everything, there was some other people who decided to like come to who lived down the road. There was like a psychic medium.
Mhm.
And she came, and also to my son's aunt came, and she practices uh Wiccan. And at that time, this energy, if it knew that you were hurting, you know what I'm saying? Like if you had
Yeah.
muscle spasms or whatever, or a toothache, like that energy would really affect it and just like really, increase the pain immensely. And at that time, I had a bad tooth, and it attacked me. And my dog that I had at the time, Lucy, she was half Great Dane and half Black Lab, and she put her paws on top
Oh.
of my shoulders because she knew I was in pain. She was trying to protect me, and then like there was 5 people, and they came to me and they were putting their hands on me in prayer. When this happened, they were all recording on their phone.
Mhm.
All of their devices just depleted and said cannot record.
Oh wow.
But my wife got the new Samsung phone, so it had the
Mhm.
rapid burst shots. So she
Yeah.
was able to do it that way, with the burst shots.
Mhm.
And so you see that, people have their hands on me, and then you see Jennifer, the aunt, with her eyes closed, and she turns around and she's walking like this, with her hands up,
Mhm.
and she's just walking out. Now, she has a disease called Chiari disease. So that means her spinal cord
Yeah.
will drip, like inside of her, you know what I'm saying? Her brain
Yes.
will drip. So her coordination is not right. She can't hold on to things very long and everything. Well, she was basically kind of blind, and she was zigzagging, in pitch blackness in our front yard with toys everywhere.
Oh
And my
no.
son, yeah, and my son happened to hold her by her hand, and he was strong at that time, and she was dragging him the whole time, and there's just no possible way she could have done that. And he's like taking pictures. And so out of the 25 picture or the 27 pictures that he took, there was
Mhm.
one picture where she just collapsed on the ground, on a lot, and you see a bell dress right behind her, and you
Oh.
just see the bottom of it, but you don't see the top and everything. And did you know that picture like disappeared? But it was
Mhm.
hell because Ronnie decided to provoke what spirit that was there,
Oh
and it
no.
physically attacked us.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, and Ronnie's a big dude, and it punched him straight in the stomach, and he basically almost hit his knees. He did actually hit his knees on the concrete, steps. And I went and I grabbed his hand, and I don't know like what it was, but when I grabbed
Mhm.
his hand, it's just like he got up, and then like we just started walking, and we started going toward where Jennifer was laying out in the field, and it was just weird. It was like all of a sudden, simultaneously, we did this. And when we did that, you see like all these orbs fly in front of us, and they go toward that direction. And
Mhm.
whatever they were doing they took whatever was off, was basically off Jennifer. Like it was
Wow.
basically protecting us. And I'm
Yes.
assuming it was the slaves, protecting
That would
us.
make sense. Yes, absolutely.
And so I'm letting you know, for like 2 weeks, I don't think I slept. Like, I had like every light on in the house. Man, my dog Lucy slept with me for like 3 days, and she never slept with me.
Aw.
So
She was protecting you. Yeah.
no, absolutely, absolutely. But it just started getting more weird. I think what happened was I got used to it.
Mhm.
And I think because I felt like, okay, well, I know it exists. And so I'm just, I'm going to leave it alone. And what it was doing, it was sucking the life out of me, because I would come home, from work, and I'd be like, I
I
would have to
remember
go to
you
sleep,
telling me that. Yes.
and it would be like the best sleep in the world, excuse me, but it was dragging out of my energy, and so I would I woke up with this man in my face, and I'm assuming his name is TB Gillard,
Mhm.
and he used to own the property there, and like he was in my face, full beard and all that, and and I'm like, I'm trying to sleep, like, get out of my face. I'm trying to sleep. And that's how I would have to be. I would have to be very standoffish, and
Sometimes
like,
you have to be. You have to
and,
be.
and they would mess with me. Like, I was like in the kitchen. I told you that, like, went to step back, and I
Yeah.
bumped into somebody that wasn't there. It was just me, you know. But I mean, like, excuse my language. I mean, the dude was an asshole. He must have been an asshole in life, then like
Yes.
in death. I mean, like,
And
I
they
even
don't change. They don't
no,
change.
and I
Mm-mm.
studied this dude. Like, okay, so he went to, I think, Harvard.
Mhm.
No, Yale. He went to Yale, not medical school, law school,
Mhm.
and so forth like that. His family, to this very day, still have money. They're in gas and oil in Mobile, Alabama.
Hmm.
I trace his ancestry all the way to France and all that, and it looks like his family was friends with my family in
Oh
France
no.
because they were both royalties.
That's weird. That's interesting.
I know. So now that makes me wonder about, okay, so is this dude like a reincarnation? Because I really do believe that um my I guess, how can I say, like, my ex-landlord
Mhm.
and all that, he looks like him. Like
Uh,
the eyes. And he told me, he was like, you know who I am. Like, I mean, he didn't deny it.
what?
You know what I'm saying? And he
Yeah.
was like on point about like what I was thinking and everything like that. And like, I know those eyes. And so I do believe that he's a reincarnation of TB Gillard.
Wow.
And he said that, he did live at that time on that property, back in the day. And it's not like it's hard for me not to believe him due to the
Yeah.
fact, because of, when you see things, you see things. And about the eyes. The eyes do not lie.
No,
You
they
know what I'm
don't. You
saying?
can't.
They
They
don't
don't.
lie. And I do believe that, he had to been, a part of that,
Yeah.
back in the day. And so, yeah, and so, I mean, like I said, there's so many things that have happened, at this location, that we lived at. I remember waking up, and I went and I just like rescued this dog, like all the way in Dallas. So I
Mhm.
drove 4 hours to get this dog because she was on doggy death row, and I didn't want her to
Oh.
die. So I went to get her. I didn't tell my wife. That almost led to a divorce. But I brought her home anyway and all that. And we only had her for, I want to say, maybe like 2-3 months. And one night, it happened every now and then. I would wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning. Like, I have never been asleep. And I woke up that morning,
Mhm.
and something was telling me to walk in the living room. So when you walk in the living room, there's a built-in shelf to your
Mm-hmm.
left, and it partitions the kitchen.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
but you can still see a little part of the kitchen. And as I'm walking out, look, okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. For the longest time, I did not believe in cryptids. I just, to me, it was like folklore, you know,
Yeah.
um, because I never seen one. And I remember, my next door neighbor saying like, "Hey, I've seen, this thing with hooves, and it's black. It looks demonic looking, and I was like, whatever, whatever. But you know what? He was not lying because I saw this, whatever this thing was.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm walking out, it had a hunchback and like the elbows were pointy, but it was so black. Like you see the trim, right? Of
Yeah.
our screen, how black, that's how sharp and black it was.
Almost like no
And
light could touch it. I have seen
no,
stuff like this before. Yeah, it's
yeah,
weird.
and it was walking in my kitchen, and I followed it with my eyes, and it just dissipated and
Mm.
all that. And at that time when this was happening, I happened to look at my dog, and she's looking in the corner of the room, or the corner
Mm-hmm.
where the French doors are, because like I said, you have the bookshelf and all that. And I didn't know at the time there was a vortex there. And I don't know what the look on her face was, but I can just tell by how her ears came up, and
Oh.
she hauled butt around, around the bar to try to
Mm-hmm.
get out the back doggy door, and the back doggy door was closed, and she just like ran into it. And I'm telling you, the next day when she was able to get out, she never came back.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
She knew. She
No, no,
saw it.
absolutely. I couldn't get people to mow my lawn. Okay, so it was a half acre of land and all
So
that.
people knew
And
about the property and how it
no, some
was.
of them didn't. No, some of them
No.
didn't even know. Like we went through like what, 7 landscaping companies and all that, and they would come and mow, because then they would charge us like $150 to mow, because at that time the grass was high because nobody would come and mow it, you
Yeah.
know. And so yeah, so they would mow, and then I wouldn't hear back from them. I paid them in advance, to come mow, and I finally got in touch with one of them, and they're like, no, no, Diablo, Diablo, and they like hung up on me.
Well, I
So like,
don't know much, but I know what that means. Yeah.
yeah, like the devil,
Yes.
So,
Wow.
and it didn't like people on the property. We couldn't bring anyone home. You know what I'm saying? Like, we had a couple of like birthday parties there, like for our son, but
Mm-hmm.
it was always a, it was always a risk, you know, of something happening.
Mm.
And like I said, I mean, there was like so much. I think probably the one that kind of was like funny to me is that everybody started to turn on us every time they would come into this house. Our friends turned on us. Like I had a false report on me, a CPS, that I was trying to like molest my own kid. Like what? You know what I'm saying? I mean, just it was just turning people differently. And so CPS caseworker comes to our house. At that time, there was a dirt road. And so this woman decides she's gonna wear stilettos. Okay. So, on
Mm-mm.
gravel, we know that's just not a good idea.
Nope. Not good.
So she comes into the house, she's asking questions. I see the look on her face. And like she turned like 3 shades of white. Then she's like was asking my son questions, and then they went into the other room or whatever
Mm-hmm.
and all that. And it was real quick. And then she was like, okay, I'm about to leave. I'm like, well, let me walk you out, because it was twilight. And when it's twilight, you hear footsteps walking behind you or walking on the side of you. So like if you're walking down the road, it's walking in the grass and everything like that. And so I just like, hey, look, my place is haunted. I'd rather walk you out, because you're going to probably hear footsteps, and I don't want you to get riled up, and she was like, "Oh, I heard somebody tell me to get out." Like, she's like, "I heard a man tell me to get out of your house."
Same guy that
You
tells
know?
you that. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, "You know what? I don't see anything wrong here. There's nothing going on." But she's like, "If I need to talk to you again, I'm not coming back over here. You're coming to my office." And I'm like,
That's
"Okay,
crazy.
fine." Yeah, man. I'd like even somebody tried to steal some stuff off our porch one time. Somebody tried to steal some stuff off our porch. I'm like, looking in the peephole, and
Mm-hmm.
like there was wasp out there, you know what I'm saying? But there's no wasp in the wintertime. And
Not supposed to be.
it was just like it looked like someone touched him, and he was like doing that, and then he was doing this, and then he was doing that and running down my sidewalk.
Oh no.
Oh yeah,
It's not. I'm sorry. It's not funny, but yeah.
Yeah,
They were getting him.
It did not like people on that property, on that land.
Now I have to ask a question on the little video we played.
Mm-hmm.
The lady
Katrina Cooper?
saw the. Honestly, it looked like somebody hanging in the tree to me.
It wasn't someone hanging in the tree.
It wasn't.
It was.
Okay. I thought it looked like it to me. Yeah.
Yeah, and with that picture too, if you lighten that picture up, you see so much more. You see like
Can I tell you?
soldiers.
Wait. Can I tell you what I saw?
What'd you see?
What I see? Okay. If anybody did, I will play it again if everybody wants me to. But here's what I saw. When I saw the shape in the tree, looked like a hanging person to me. I saw almost a circle of people around that area.
Yes.
That's what I saw. But that's my eyes now. Yeah. And I've only glanced at it like on the videos. I've never seen a still, or if I have, I don't remember it.
Okay, so yeah, I'll have to send you the JPEG image. I'll have to send you
that would be cool.
One. Yeah, because when you lighten it up, you do see a lot more that's going on in the picture. You see my dog Jude that passed away of cancer and all that. We had to put him down. And you see him jumping up at the person who's hanging from the tree. I'm like, okay, this is embarrassing. Like, why is my dog doing that in the afterlife? Like, but when he was a puppy,
trying to help him,
but when he was a puppy, we used to call him and his sister like little Mexican jumping beans because they were half Great Dane and half Basset Hound, and they would jump. Like really high. They would jump until they got fat and they couldn't jump anymore. Yeah. And then there is a face image, and it's hard to see, but there is this guy's face and you can see his nose, and it's kind of like two faces blend into one and all that. And I think he was an oil worker back in the early 1900s because there's a picture of him in the Baytown Museum.
Oh, wow.
Like a big picture of him, like by an oil field. And I have, like, I think another photo of him, an apparition, of his face.
There's a lot going on that property. And you live not far from it now, right?
Yeah, I live about 10 minutes away from it. But I live, like, less than probably 2 minutes or less away from the cemetery that has ties to that property, to that land, because there are people who used to live on that land that are buried in the cemetery right down the road. And that cemetery is highly active. I have heard several times about satanic rituals taking place in the cemetery. There's an old United Methodist church that was abandoned for, a long time when they built the new church. And so people were going in there and doing we're doing like seances.
Hey Jeff.
And so forth like that. We even, like, Katrina and I, we actually walked up on one. I mean, it was already done, but they had the circle and they had black candles and they had all this other stuff. And I don't know much about like witchcraft, but what I do know that I do know someone who did have a demonic attachment. He was possessed,
Mm-hmm.
and he would go to the cemetery because that's where he would feel peace. And knowing the fact that people have done satanic rituals in the cemetery right down the
Mm-hmm.
road from me, and he would go there for peace, makes me think, about it. Now, I don't know if you saw, like, in the footage, did you see where we were at the cemetery?
The
Katrina and I.
extended footage I did,
Right,
yes.
right, right. And did you hear where it said Satan or demonic when we were asking about Hilda?
Yeah, I heard you.
The
Yeah,
name
I did
Hilda.
hear that.
Okay, so Hilda, like, I guess maybe like toward the beginning of the film and all
Mm-hmm.
that, Hilda we believe, was a witch. I think she said, I asked who Hilda was. It said Emma Walker Gillette, which the Gillette family was buried right there, when I
Oh
was
yeah.
asking the question. You know what I'm saying? Um, but the thing was, it was like they said, burn, bitch, burn.
Oh.
Because Hilda was supposedly burned in a cellar.
Oh.
She was caught on fire intentionally. Here we don't have cellars. I mean, we do have some houses have cellars, but those are the mansions like in Houston and all that. We're below
Mm-hmm.
sea level. So in most of the mansions in Houston, they don't even use their cellars anymore because they're filled in because we flood. We're a concrete swamp, because we're under sea level.
Yeah.
And so forth like that. So, but Dr. Asheville Smith, who was one of the landowners, who was one of the
Mm-hmm.
plantation owners for Evergreen. You had Old Bell Prairie, you had Evergreen Plantation. They were back to back.
Mm-hmm.
They were next to each other and so forth. So he had part of that plantation land, and he gave it to Henry Gillette, his cousin, who moved from Connecticut, both of them. In Connecticut, y'all have cellars.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And yeah, and so like Hilda comes through. Hilda's not a good person, whatsoever. I know she dabbles in the crafts because she'll talk about pentacles, and
Mm-hmm.
she's very clear and concise, So, like, for instance, in the video where I have it where we were using Steve Huff's Wonder Box,
Mm-hmm.
and it was talking about like, gunshot suicide, head suicide. There has
Right.
been numerous of people over the years who've committed suicide on that land.
Oh yeah.
Because if you have any drugs or alcohol, anything that impairs your judgment, those evil spirits there can basically manifest things and control you,
Yeah.
like a puppet. And
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. A puppet. Yeah.
yeah, and one of those is a guy who used to live, and he was the overseer, and he was a real mean guy. His name was Benjamin Roper. I found where he was buried at. He's buried about like 15 minutes away, and
Mm-hmm.
all that. And I even did some stuff on him and everything. And he killed slaves. He killed people, and his spirit is still there. I mean, because I've captured him several times.
Mm.
I think he possessed one of my friends who lives there, at the subdivision. And look, girl, like, I'm gonna have to send you the video. So I use, like the laser spectrum, right?
Maybe that's what we
Where the
can talk
laser.
about next show.
Yes, because we're out of time.
Well, we
and-
are out of time, but we're good a few minutes, because I
Yeah,
played the.
And what I want to try to do too is I would like to go and do like a 4-part series, about this, because I want people to come, and experience it and everything. I'm trying to, get City of Baytown, or get people in Baytown to talk
Mhm.
about their, experiences and all that. I mean, even, to be on a show, because
Yeah, I was about to
this-
say, bring them on. Bring them on
Yeah,
if they will.
yeah.
We could even if they don't want to show their face, you could do their voice or whatever.
Right,
We would figure it
right,
out.
right. And I have a friend who's a producer, and so they were looking, to cast for My Haunted Hometown. So I was able to get some people, basically accepted, with
Oh
their,
yeah.
with their stories and all that. But the main people that I can get the story from here, that
Mhm.
would really make a great story
Mhm.
line, because of the fact that the museum over here is haunted. The fact that, there are people here in the city of Baytown know about the hauntings and want to be recognized for that, and so forth like that. So,
Well, we'll try to
there's
hook that up. Yeah.
no, absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely, absolutely.
Well, we have enjoyed it, and why don't you tell everybody how to reach you? I have put up this one. This is on your Facebook. Is
Yes,
that
you
right?
can. Yeah, I don't have two O's though, but that's okay.
Uh
Well, I
oh,
don't have
that's my
four
bad.
O's. Four O's. That's all right. Look, man,
Sorry.
people torture my name.
That's a
Like,
typo. Now this one, is this one right?
yes, yes, it is. So
Because
yeah, so
I
you,
find
yeah. So you can
that
like
one's
hit me
good.
up on TikTok
Hmm.
on Lesbian Paranormal, or you can go ahead and email me at dirtybaydigital@gmail.com. And I can definitely like answer any questions and everything. But yeah, you know what? I would love for people to come out and, and enjoy this. Not enjoy it, but to do scientific research.
I would love to
Um,
come out and investigate.
I
Maybe
mean,
that we
because
can. That would be awesome.
no,
If I could
absolutely.
possibly do that. Oh
Yeah, no,
yeah.
absolutely. I mean, that's how I learned, or one of the ways how I learned how to create the Haviland Nicola is
Hmm.
through learning of frequencies, of frequencies of the dead,
Yeah.
which I'm able to, with this device, you know, go into the living consciousness of my own
Yes.
or yours, of projecting internal thoughts coming out of a speaker, out of a spirit box. You know what I'm saying? And tap into other people's consciousness.
That's one show we need to do. We need to get you and me to do something somewhere. Maybe somewhere I'm at. This you've never been. Something. We need to do something. That would be cool.
No, absolutely,
That would
absolutely.
be absolutely cool. Because we'll have some stuff going on after the first. Well, it is first of the year. And again, everybody, Happy New Year. But yeah, we're going to come up with some good stuff, and hopefully she can
Yes.
get some people to come on, even if they don't want their face shown. We'll do something.
You
So,
know,
but I'm
yeah,
go ahead.
it's just everything is like, my life is so chaotic and it's so busy, and I do have guests and so forth like that, but just because of the holiday season,
Oh yeah,
it's just like, it's just kind of hard for them to, break away and,
it
do a
is.
segment. But yes, I will have, some pretty awesome people, on also too. I have one guy who just messaged me or just called me, so I'm going to call
Hmm.
him back, and he claims to have demonic attachments to him and so forth, and he's looking for help, and I was, like I said, I was supposed to go and visit him with another crew. I don't know,
Hmm.
something told me not to, and I didn't. He doesn't know that
Gotta
yet. He'll
listen.
probably
Gotta
well he'll
listen.
probably know after he watches this, but no,
Well, you gotta
absolutely.
listen. You do. Well, I'm gonna let you
No.
sign us out,
All
everybody.
right.
It's been great, and there you
Yes.
go.
Yes, and thank you guys for watching my podcast. And I enjoy watching y'all's podcast too. It's been
Thank
great.
you.
So my name is Chris O'Toole. I am out, and I'll be forward looking for y'all for next week on Echoes of the Shadows podcast with Chris
Good night.
O'Toole and Gwen. Good night.
All right. Good night.